So, hello, beloved church family of the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Judith Roberts, and I am your host tonight. I welcome you to our midweek Oasis Wednesday night service. As you will experience tonight, our Wednesday night Oasis is a place where we come together to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. Most Wednesday night services build upon the theme of the previous Sunday, expressing science of mind principles and practices with the intention that these gatherings be informal, intimate, and interactive. Our annual theme for 2025 is Rising Higher, Growing Deeper. Our monthly theme for March is The Flow of Coming and Going. Last Sunday, Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman introduced ideas inspired by the talk title, Planting My Intentions. And tonight, our speaker will continue the exploration of this same topic. So as we gather tonight, I really want to welcome you. If you're new to our community or watching our recording, please visit our homepage at www.oaklandcsl.org and click on the I'm New icon and look at the lower left-hand corner of that page to submit your email address. Once you do, you'll begin receiving the village newsletter once a week on Thursdays in your email. It has all the information on what is happening at the center in the coming weeks. Before we get started with the talk, please mute your audio microphone during tonight's service. You can leave your camera on. When you mute your audio microphone, it will improve the quality of our recording and tonight's transmission. And please stay tuned through the end of the service to receive special and important announcements. So now I would like to introduce our speaker tonight. Her name is Ella McClure. She's 23 and she grew up in Southern California and moved here in October for work. She's a speech therapist by day, working to help teach generations. Sorry, I got a little tongue-tied there. Working to help teach generations to come how to find and use their voice. She grew up in CSL. Her uncle, Judy, is a minister at CSL Capistrano Valley. She has always been passionate about CSL and served as a co-director for the regional winter camp in Malibu when she was 17. She's a member of the Social Justice Ministry here at Oakland Center. Her focus is on spreading the principles she has learned in this teaching to anyone who is interested and leading by example. So Ella, thank you in advance for being our speaker tonight. As we do with every organized event at the center, we open with prayer. And I understand, Ella, that you will be opening us in prayer tonight. So I would like to, at this time, turn it over to you for the opening prayer and then for your talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'd like to start by asking everyone to close your eyes or calm your mind and take some deep breaths with me now. As we breathe in, we know that there's only one God, that this power, this presence, this spirit moves in, through, and as us in all that we do. We know that as there is only one God, there is nothing greater than this God. There is nothing greater than the spirit that we embody in our word, in our thoughts, in our actions. I know that we are joined here in conscious wholeness and conscious love and peace, and that every word that is spoken tonight is from God's ears to our own, and that we are the exact right space to receive this message. I give great thanks to everyone for being here and taking part in creating this beautiful space, this beautiful consciousness. And I give thanks to God and Spirit for guiding and assisting each and every one of us in all that we do. I release this prayer back into the hands from which it came, which is God itself, knowing that we are all one and that as I speak these words, they're already so. I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off by thanking Judith for helping me create this sacred space. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and holding a consciousness of peace, growth, and love. I also wanted to mention that if at any time you feel called to share something or ask for clarification, please feel free to raise a Zoom hand, and when the timing is right, I will share the floor. Freddie, if you wouldn't mind sharing my slides. Thank you. Tonight, we are talking about the creative process. Our message is planting my intentions. So this idea of finding what it is that we know and what we are hoping to see grow and sprout and nourishing it and allowing it to blossom. This planting our intentions is talking about the creative process. It's a teaching that is so essential to the science of mind. In fact, it's the basis of a symbol that is often used to represent religious science as a whole. You might have seen it. It looks something like this. So the outer body signifies that it is all one system. At the top, we see spirit. In the middle, there is the law of action, the law of circulation, and the law of reciprocity, that what we give out, we get back. And then it goes down deep into the self. So this image is showing us that what spirit embodies is within us, and that as we're planting our intention, it's, I can't quite point to the screen. I keep meaning to point and it's not working. But as the spirit goes in and through the law into ourselves, and it is all one. So as we're planting our intentions, it's coming straight from spirit right into our body, our mind, and our soul. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about this as the talk goes on. But first, I wanted to share something with you. There's an old story about the creative process, this idea of planting our intentions, and it goes like this. When you go out to your garden and you dig down into the dirt and you plant your seed and you cover it all up and you fertilize your soil, you don't go down the next day or the next week and dig it back up to see if the roots are forming, to see if the seed has sprouted, do we? No. We wait. We water the dirt and we trust that it finds its way to the seed, that the sun will find its way to the plant in exactly the right moment that it is meant to. We trust that the fruit will blossom in time or the flower will bloom in its perfect right moment. We have faith. We trust in the work that we have done to prepare the seed with every aspect of its becoming that it needs in order to come to fruition, that we've nourished the soil, that we've planted it in the right conditions at the right time, and we trust that it will sprout when it's meant to. But for some reason, we seem to treat ourselves differently. Don't we know that God is all there is? That spirit and ourselves are a part of the great whole of the universe? That you and I are no different from the acorn that becomes the tree? It's madness, really, that we set our intention, whatever it is, and we say our affirmations, and then the next day or week or month, If we have not seen the fruit of our labors, we often dig into ourselves. This is a way of telling on myself, of course. Let me tell you another little story. This is from just this past week. Last Monday, I had a job interview for a job that I felt had perfectly aligned with everything I had set my intentions towards. It was a job that promised me a more balanced schedule, a loving community, and offered twice as much as the job that I already had. Well, it seemed too good to be true, while I questioned if I had the experience to uphold the responsibilities of it, and while I feared shifting my life so dramatically outside my comfort zone and leaving behind the clients and families I knew had come to depend on me, I applied anyway. There were a few things working in my favor. I know that they were desperate for someone to fill the position and that there was a significant need for a professional like myself to support this community. Um, but there were still a few times during the interview that I was caught off guard. I found out that the assignment was for 4 elementary schools and 1 high school, and I didn't have any experience working in a high school, but I knew that it was something I was willing to do, to take another step outside of my comfort zone. The other time I was caught off guard was when he asked me my strengths and weaknesses, because I didn't want to admit to having any weaknesses, because I wanted this job. But I somehow muscled my way through, admitting that there are times where I need support, but highlighting my ability to ask for help when I'm out of my depths on something. Anyway, after my interview, I felt really low. I had planted my seed. I had nourished my soil by attending the interview and completing all the prerequisites, but immediately I started digging my seed back up, thinking of everything I could have done differently if I had the chance to do it over again. But I also got a text immediately after that from the recruiter who observed my interview, which said, "Great job," in all caps, 2 exclamation points. "You were amazing." And this helped calm my worries a bit. We talked on the phone after that, and the recruiter told me the director had said the words, "I want to hire her." And still, I was doubting myself. At my 12-step meeting the next night, I admitted that as badly as I wanted the position and as qualified as I know I am, part of me was doubtful that I was deserving of it. And that is a really hard place to be in, isn't it? I could see my good. I could know that it was available to me and that it was mine to claim whenever I was ready to do so. Yet part of me felt pause. I was in a deep place of self-judgment. But luckily, I was raised in this teaching, and I knew what I had to do. So I got quiet. I listened in to myself. I said a treatment right then and there. I said, "God, I know that you have only my highest good in store for me. I know that my best life is mine for the taking. I know that I am skilled, capable, and intelligent. I have faith that if this is the right thing for me, then it is inevitable that it will be mine." And then you know what I did? I released it. I turned my worries and stress over to the care of spirit and trusted in the source to carry out my highest good, because that was the intention that I had planted, and that was what I had affirmed for myself. And guess what? I got the job. But this is just one story demonstrating the creative process. This idea of planting our intentions in motion. On a broader, day-to-day scale, with all of the information that is readily available to us, it can be difficult to maintain our connection to spirit, to keep our focus on the good that is ours, the good we want to see, the good we know is possible. There is a lot to be said about the state of the world right now, and I don't want to waste any of our time talking about things that we already know or have already heard. One thing is for sure: the universe is constantly in balance, demonstrating for us daily the difficulties as well as the ease and flow of our experience. In this teaching, we know that it is all God. Yes, even the people and ideas that we don't agree with. We know that evil exists, that good and evil exist. We could not have one without the other. In the same manner, the darkness is nothing if not the absence of light. I am not asking us to spiritually bypass the difficulties of this day and age, but rather to remember our oneness with spirit and this great wholeness of our experience. To acknowledge that there has not been a time when humanity was undisturbed by war, hate, or divide. When I focus on the muck and rot, all that which creates fear or anger within me, I am unintentionally planting those seeds, disturbing my lavish garden of prosperity, love, and wholeness. It is our spiritual call not to allow this great instrument of mass distraction keep us from remaining in the light of spirit. There is a creative power in our thought and in all that we do. It is important to focus our thoughts more on what we want to see than that which is disturbing us. A great short reminder of this power landed in my ears, and it is this: wait, I'm creating. In any moment, it is wise to pay attention to what we are giving our attention to, as this is what we are drawing nearer towards us, either consciously or unconsciously. It is our task to choose consciously that which we desire, that which we could see and know for ourselves and for the world, rather than allowing the fear and distraction to sway us from this light. This idea of creating in any instance is one that is kind of hard to contend with at times, because there is so much that is out there that is filling our ears at any given moment. So it's important to respond to those things with reminders of our connection to the spirit, with reminders of the good that is available to us, with reminders of all the love and joy that is within the world still and always. I think it can be really difficult with the media right now, which is so focused on negativity, to remember the positivity that we aren't seeing, the positivity on a day-to-day basis, talking to people in your community, others talking to family members, people sharing love and joy in their work lives, in their school lives. There is still good in the world, and it is important to remember that and to focus on that and to consciously cultivate more of it in our experience, because as this symbol so beautifully demonstrates, that which is of spirit feeds into ourselves, and that which is in ourselves in that same way spreads it out to the rest of consciousness. We are creating change by creating change within ourselves. This idea, looking at this image, that spirit can only do for us that which it can do through us, becomes abundantly clear looking at this image. We are divinity in action, and therefore we are the instruments of spirit. Our tool is the creative power of our thoughts and intentions. The best way to open your mind to the infinite possibilities of the divine is to not affirm that which creates fear or frustration inside you. Said another way, when circumstances do not behave as we wish they would, we have two options. We can choose, either consciously or unconsciously, to allow ourselves to become stuck in anger and fear. And I'll admit, I have my moments. I definitely have been a victim to falling prey to the fear and this distraction, right? But we have another option. We can choose differently. We can turn to the divine mind for infinite possibilities. Personally, when I pray, I do not pray for what I think it is that I want. I pray for my highest good. I never want to close the door to having life work out even more beautifully than I could have imagined, because I know that God, in all of this greatness of spirit, has only my highest good in mind, and that the possibilities that God can conjure up are often way more perfectly aligned than I could have ever imagined. So I want to leave that door open to allow spirit to work through me in my acknowledgement of the law of spirit. Instead, I want to plant this spirit deep down into the soil of my mind, my body, and spirit. I want to fertilize it with affirmations of abundance and continued faith in my highest good. And I certainly do not want to allow worry or self-doubt to creep in and dig up that which I have so dutifully planted. In spiritual mind treatment, we follow a system. The first system is recognition. Spiritual mind treatment is a form of prayer, in case that wasn't. Treatment, prayer. They're synonyms. We follow a system. The first step is recognition, knowing that God is all there is. The second step being unification, knowing that we are one with this power and light, that it is, if it is all there is, then we must be part of that as well. And then we do declaration. That's the third step. We affirm our truths and speak our intentions. We declare what is ours to have and to know. The next step is gratitude. We give thanks for the knowing and for the truth and for the law that says everything is already in action and already unfolding, as Spirit always says, yes, my beloved. Lastly, and most importantly, my favorite step is to release. We let it go. We let God. We trust the divine energy is already in motion to bring forth that which we have affirmed. We know that God affirms all that which we think, do, say, or believe. So what is ours to do? We can plant our intentions of joy and abundance. We can make the soil rich and fertile by maintaining it with affirmations and positivity. We must trust in Spirit to bring us that which we planted. We don't want to go in and dig up all of the good that we have come up with. We want to allow the fruits of our good labor and intentions to blossom. And we want to trust in Spirit to bring us that good, just as we trust in our flowers to bloom and our crops to grow. We can allow space, we can allow time, we can trust that the sun will shine, that our good will sprout, and that there are roots burrowing that we cannot yet see. That is all that I had written down. So I'm trying to think of what more I could say. Kind of wanting to listen in and see where Spirit is guiding me to talk about. I feel that I kind of briefly skimmed over the idea of allowing the negativity to get into our thoughts. And I wanted to touch more on that, talking about how because the way that Spirit unfolds and because there is that truth and that law that everything which we affirm is affirmed by Spirit, that which we intend and set out, God grants. Because of that, when we are unconsciously paying more attention to that which we don't desire, we are unconsciously drawing that towards us. So it's important to create distance between that affliction and our inner truth and knowing of the good that is ours to have. And it's important to focus on the positivity that we might not always be seeing online, or even in our day-to-day lives. I think the stress of the messaging that is out there gets to people, and it can definitely create an interesting feeling of division even within our communities. And I don't think that anyone necessarily escapes that. I think that there are people everywhere in our lives that we are connected to. And it can be really difficult to maintain that loving consciousness when sometimes it's family members, sometimes it's coworkers, sometimes it's someone you run into at a parking lot. And leading from a place of love is something that's important to me. Leading from a place of positivity, knowing that all that which is given to us and shared, seeing the positive in all things, which can be really difficult with some things. But finding space for spirit, knowing that God is there to fall on when we are standing on shaky legs, that spirit is always behind us to support us. And by behind, I mean within, truly. Yeah. Did anyone have any questions? I'm not sure if anyone was raising their hand at any point through that.
Ella, before we go to the questions, you had mentioned that you had 4 slides. Do you have any more slides you wanted to speak to? Oh,
Yeah, they were discussion question
oh,
slides.
great. That's great. Yeah, perfect segue.
Yeah. Okay, so the first question is, what is one thing that you can do to remain in the consciousness of spirit? For myself, this looks like attending service regularly. It looks like reaching out to loved ones and discussing things that are afflicting me, things that are on my mind, being able to release them and let them go, and to hear that positivity and to hear that other side of things, to hear about all the wonderful, amazing things that are happening in the world that I don't necessarily see on my news feed every day. That's one thing that I do that really helps me remain in that consciousness. And how I can care for myself this week is by starting my day with affirmations. I have a countertop that I can write on. So I have a expo marker and I write some affirmations on it, and I look at those in the morning just to really recenter myself and bring myself back to this spiritual consciousness and take care of my mind, because there can be a lot of turbulence. How we weather the storm. Yes, Lisa. You're muted.
The spiritual practice of meditation, and not having to meditate for a long time, but meditating consistently every day, even if it's just 5 minutes. I find that it tends to be very cumulative. And when I do it every single day, it centers me in a peace that keeps me from being swayed too much from what I see on media and things that might happen.
Thank you. Dorothy, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, Ella, I just want to thank you for your review of prayer for our practitioners. I'm a emeritus practitioner, and to go through the 5 steps again was absolutely awesome. And I thank you so much for the review, and also for our symbol as to what it means to let go and let God. Once we plant that seed, know that God is taking care of it. and we don't have to go back and dig it up or do anything. All we have to do is just be still and know that God is all there is, and God's got our back. And sweetheart, I thank you for this wonderful Wednesday night service that you are doing for our community. Thank you so much. I'm complete.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I see Lula has her hand raised as well.
I the way I center myself is every morning having a daily practice, just starting the day and reading and have certain readings that I do and like Lisa said, meditating not for a long period of time, but make sure I spend some time in the silence because when you are reaching for your highest good, we need to give God a chance to download to us. So I try to spend some time in the silence.
Definitely. I love that reminder of spending time in this. I also wanted to emphasize that the practice doesn't need to be meditation. It doesn't need to be prayer. One practice I tried when I was just a teenager in my teen group was we had a cup of tea and just thinking about all the hands that work to plant the seeds, to grow that flower or that crop, whatever it is that's within the tea, and thinking about how the sun helped grow the plant and hands picked it and put it in tea bags, and now it's ended up here on my table and it's in my cup and there's water in my cup, and just feeling all the gratitude and blessings that came from something as simple as having a cup of tea. So it can really be anything that we do with consciousness and with intention is a spiritual practice. Taking a walk, looking at trees. So just thank you for that, Lula. And then Deborah, I see you have your hand raised as well.
Thank you, Ella. I first want to say thank you for your presentation. It is awesome. And I am so happy that you gave this presentation because it feels like for people who are not as ingrained in science of mind, you gave us a 101 practice. And you absolutely allowed us to go with you in terms of what is religious science. That is the first thing. And it was awesome. The other thing I want to say is, what is one thing that you can do to remain in the consciousness of spirit? And that is just, as you have already said, be still. I would also like to say that I start my day every day with a prayer partner where we give gratitude for just waking up in the morning and being reconnected to the alignment of spirit. And then we also give thanks for each other, which is the prayer partnership to be a witness for God's spirit within us, growing and giving. And so the one thing that I can do to care for myself is to continue the practice with my prayer partner of starting my day with spirit. I'm complete.
Beautiful. I love it. Would anyone else like to feel called to share ways that they remain in the consciousness of spirit? I'm so grateful to have had this opportunity to share what is something that is so important to me. I think that the time we are living in really demands that we maintain our consciousness. I've heard it referred to as a war for our consciousness. the kind of that distractive power to kind of pull us away from what we know, and to keep us feeling bogged down, to keep us feeling small. But reminding ourselves that we are part of God, that we are God, that we are that spirit in action, that we are God's instruments on this earth. Reminding ourselves of that can really help to help us not feel so small when we're constantly seeing things that might make us feel that way. So I think that kind of that recognition and that drawing back into spirit is a really important part. Thank you for sharing, Deborah. And then Judith, I see you have your hand raised as well.
Yes, I just want to, in addressing the first question, is what is one thing that you can do to remain in the consciousness of spirit? One thing, I mean, everything everyone said, are great ways. But I also find that spending time in nature helps me to connect with spirit and just balance me. And so it's spending some time in nature every day. And now that we have daylight savings, that makes it a little bit easier towards the end of the day. But, just taking a walk or sitting in the sun or just something, noticing how beautifully the flowers are coming out now, or, listening to the birds, anything like that, just spending a little time in nature really, really helps me. And how will I care for myself this week? I find also that exercise really makes a difference for me. It lifts my spirits. I think it gets my endorphins going. And it does. It lifts my spirits. And so I'm working out, and that really makes a big difference for me. And I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. Yeah, I love that point about nature. I also find that nature is a place that I really feel the presence of spirit. The spring has just been lovely here. It is my first spring in the Oakland area, and I am loving it. There are more flowers than I've ever seen before, just in the sidewalk cracks. It's really something to behold. And it's a good reminder that if we are part of God, then so are the trees and the bees and the plants and all of it. And it just really helps anchor into the here and now rather than kind of the distractive qualities of the media, as we've already mentioned a couple times. That it really helps anchor into this moment and to center ourselves and return to spirit and that consciousness. I appreciate everyone sharing their connections and self-care routines. I also think that exercise is a great thing. Bringing ourselves back into our body, kind of getting out of our heads so much, returning. It's a way to give love into yourself, right? It's energy, and it takes effort. It can be difficult, but it's super rewarding. A great way to care for ourselves. Yes, Andrea, I see your hand up.
Hello. Well, this is a fairly new practice for me, but I've just been getting a lot out of it. I've been going to the noon Dr. Dan study group, Daniel Lee Morgan study group, and gosh, it's just there's so much to think about and to talk about with everyone in the group, and and it's definitely raising my consciousness of spirit. And it's also something that I'm doing to take care of myself spiritually. And I'm complete.
Ella, you're fairly new at the center. Do you know about Dr. Dan? Do you know about that group?
I didn't know about that group. No.
It's a group that started during the pandemic, and they use a book and readings every day from Dr. Dan, who was a minister. And how many people? I guess there's about 8 people or so that meet regularly and every day for years now. And it's as that Andrea said, I've attended it a few times, and it keeps you focused and uplifted, and and it's free. It's available to everybody. It's an online thing at noon.
That's awesome.
Just to give the background, yeah.
Love that. I think it's great to connect with our community.
Mm.
Like I said, that's another way I remain in that consciousness, is by connecting with people that I know share similar beliefs and practices, and kind of getting out, releasing that which is burdening me and replacing it with positivity and that Christ consciousness. The last slide is just a discussion slide, so kind of keeping the floor open, seeing if anyone else has anything on their hearts that they're wanting to share. Yes, Deborah.
Deborah, you're muted.
And I'm talking 9,000 on mute. Thank you. But I just want to say that today you have been a continuation to the beauty of our Dr. Dan group that Andrea was talking about, because she's right. We do on a daily basis meet from 12 to 1 and chop it up about what spirit is, how spirit operates, as well as we are guided by our, how do I say, by the Reverend Daniel Lee Morgan, who wrote a book called Guidance for a Spiritual Living. And one of the things is every day we read out of that book, and then we do major conversations of how spirit has operated and what he has said and what is our practice. And it does keep us very centered and growing in terms of what I'm going to say what our theme is: reaching higher, digging deeper. And it gives us an opportunity to do just that, behind each and every one of us contributing how Dr. Dan has impacted our lives in terms of reaching higher, growing deeper. And to come today and look at the symbol, I haven't seen that in I don't know how long. Just to have you go through the symbol of spirit, mind, and body, and actually open up that whole process again is such great remembrance of my beginning journey on this spiritual path called religious science. And it has been powerful. So I thank you so much for adding to our daily contribution. Yeah. And to come at night, because at night and hear it again is awesome. I'm complete.
Thank you, Deborah. There was something.
I see Sarah's hand up.
Oh. You're muted.
Sorry, trying to get off mute. I was struggling there with the button for a minute. Firstly, I want to just echo already the applause that you've received tonight. I want to also share that Ella really has redefined for me what it means to be faithful and have trust in God and in spirit, and has made such a personal and huge impact on my own life and my relationship with God. And so I just really want to say that she has inspired me a lot to start my own journey very recently with connecting to the spirit. And I think that she's just a lovely human being. You did a great job tonight, Ella. And I appreciate the talk, and you inspire me to be more faithful and conscious in my spirit every day. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I wanted to share the V that's it's funny that you said, Deborah, that you haven't seen it recently, because it's right there in the stained glass painting that is right behind Reverend Sunshine every Sunday. But I love this image, and when it was first explained to me, it was compared to this concept of planting our intentions, right? It was compared to planting the energy of spirit into ourself and into the body of who we are, as we are these spiritual beings expressing in human form. So it felt super perfect for this topic. I was really blessed when I was given this topic by Reverend Sunshine. I was just very connected to it, and it's something that has been a constant question for me of how to rise higher, right? As we're growing deep and as we're staying connected with spirit, how do we work with all that is presented to us on a day to day? So I just really love this symbol. I think it's super important for our teaching, and I wanted to talk about it a bit. So I'm glad that that resonated with everybody. Yes, Andrea.
I trying to get away from that screaming light. So as a speech therapist, how do you feel? Do you feel spirit in your life during the day?
I currently work with 2-year-olds, so I feel that I am constantly connected to spirit. I think children are so abundant in this trust in God and in the universe. Because they wake up in the morning and their parents kind of conduct their lives, and they don't put too much thought into it. So it's a great reminder for me and it helps me cultivate a community. It helps me feel that I am feeding into that spirit doingness of spirit, really helping nourish the soil of the community around me by helping draw out self-expression in younger generations. That's what really drew me to speech therapy in the first place. And every day is a connection to something that's so crucial for people's day-to-day lives, really helping build that communication between a child and their family, is super important for self-expression, for having their needs met. And it's a very rewarding practice. And I feel that I'm doing the good work of kind of nourishing that, which is so vulnerable.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah. I think it's just about time for our closing prayer.
It's just about time to go into our announcements.
Oh, announcements. Yes, of course.
And then we'll go into our closing prayer. So let's segue into our announcements. And I want to again thank you, Ella, for a really, really good talk. And You know, the great reminders, basic reminders of what this practice is all about. So now for our announcements. On Sunday, March 30th, Christopher Brown, practitioner, will be speaking on blossoming in the swaying. Meditation starts at 10 a.m., followed by the service at 10:30. And on April 2nd, next Wednesday, I will be speaking on the same subject, blossoming into the swaying. Meditation begins at 6:30, as it did tonight, and the service is at 7 p.m. by Zoom. Our daily readers for 2025 are 365 Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes and Daily Gratitude Reflections, Volume 2 by Deborah Perdue. Please join us for these. And our Diversity Circle meets on March 28th, which is this Friday at 7 p.m. on Zoom. The topic is on women's health. Go to oaklandcsl.org groups page for details on the topic and the Diversity Circle Zoom link. The Women's Spiritual Empowerment Group continues with another session in the 6-week series on Sunday, March 30th after service at 12:45 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. in the sanctuary. All are welcome to join this lively discussion. And please join the Ministry of Prayer for Friday Night Prayer Happy Hour on April 4th from 7 to 8 p.m. on Zoom, weekly on Fridays, except the fourth Friday of the month. Practitioners Maureen French and Megan Lemon extend this open invitation to anchor in prayer with your spiritual community. Please visit oaklandcsl.org/events and click on the image and use the passcode 123456. And the OCSL Social Justice Ministry meets on the first Sunday, April 6th, in the social hall from 1 to 3 p.m. Join us in sacred activism to create a world that works for everyone. And the season for nonviolence is wrapping up soon on April 4th. It runs from January 30th to April 4th for 64 days, commemorating the anniversaries of the deaths of Mohandas Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. We honor Lent, March 5th through April 17th. Choose something that distracts you from staying grounded and fast from it during this Lenten time. Fast and pray for greater groundedness, focus, and serenity. And Ramadan is February 28th through March 29th and ends this Saturday. It is the most sacred month of the year in the Islamic culture. We celebrate National Women's History Month in March, recognizing the contributions of women to events in history and contemporary society. Agape Bay Area presents Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, Building Bridges, April 5th from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the First Congregational Church of Oakland. Visit agapebayarea.com for details and to purchase tickets. And I notice here that there's going to be a sound bath by Arlene Hairston. And he, when we had a sound event at our center recently, he did the piece with the bowls, and it was fabulous. He's very knowledgeable and skilled with sound healing and the crystal bowls. So this should be a really good event. Okay, next slide. community potluck, community potluck and bring a friend Sunday is every fourth Sunday and kicked off last Sunday. The next one will be April 27th. Board member Deborah Jackson is leading this project and is assembling a committee for setup and cleanup. Contact Deborah at oaklandcsl.org for more information. Thank you, Deborah. And Oakland CSL is celebrating its 80th anniversary. And there's going to be a gala on September 20th, 2025. And Reverend Sunshine Michelle has said that throughout the year, we're going to have other events as well. And our nonprofit partner for March and April is the New Bridge Foundation, a nonprofit, non-medical addiction treatment facility with over 50 years of experience. Visit newbridgefoundation.org for more information. And the Spirit Treasure Bookstore celebrates Women's History Month with 30% off all books by women authors. So visit the bookstore after service or before service. I think it's just after service on Sundays. Okay. And we want to honor our team, our key stakeholders at Oakland CSL. Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman, our senior minister. Co-lead of the Ministry of Prayer is Megan Lemon, practitioner, and co-lead of the Ministry of Prayer is also Maureen French, who is a practitioner and a ministerial student now. And of course, our board president, Beth Van Arkel, we want to honor Beth for her service, our operations coordinator, Steve Carter, our facility usage coordinator, Susan Brecker, and our bookkeeper, Dow Becker. So before we move into our conscious giving time, I want to say, please visit our website at oaklandcsl.org and sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Village News. Remember to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook for special updates. Like and subscribe to the Oakland Center today. And visit csl.org to see what is happening within our Centers for Spiritual Living global organization. So there's csl.org, that's the larger organization, the umbrella organization, and then there's oaklandcsl.org to get the information related specifically to our center. Okay, and now we'll move into our conscious giving period. So with gratitude, you know, we have so much to be grateful for at this center. There's so much going on. We have wonderful speakers, wonderful people. And so I want to invite you to say with me this affirmation. You should probably stay muted, but you can say it with me. And we'll move and I'll talk a little bit about our conscious giving. So I freely give what I have, and the divine source multiplies it in return. And so it is. So next slide. So if you would like to donate to our center, you can go to oaklandcsl.org and click this donate button. And we'll go to the next slide, and you'll have many ways you can give. You can give by Zelle, you can give by QR code, you can text to give, you can donate, you can mail a check, you can use credit card, and of course, if you're there in person, you can donate cash in our offering basket. So many ways to give. We welcome any, small amount, large amount, just whatever your heart is inspiring you to do. We welcome you and welcome your donation, and are very grateful and thankful for it. And so I want to thank everybody who's participated tonight, everybody who is here online, everybody who watches this service later. And then I want to call out the people who have specifically contributed to the service tonight. Of course, our wonderful speaker, Ella McClure. Ella, wonderful, wonderful talk. And thank you so much for saying yes to this invitation. And I want to thank Ella also for doing our opening prayer, and thank in advance Lisa McClure, who's going to do our closing prayer. I want to thank our everyone, our ministers who have supported us. Reverend Elena Hutchinson is our host every other week. Reverend Ikea Param is here with us tonight online. And of course, Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman, who is our senior minister. I also want to thank Freddie Lambright III, who is our Zoom lead. He's been doing our PowerPoint tonight, spotlighting, muting, recording. He's our AV guy in the background, and we are so appreciative. He's in an interim role right now, and we're looking for a permanent person. If you know somebody, please let us know. Someone who might be interested in this service. And I want to thank Steve Carter, who's our operations coordinator. Steve prepares all our documents for our Wednesday night services. So now I would like to turn this over to Lisa McClure, who is Ella's stepmother, who is doing our closing prayer tonight. Lisa?
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's start by taking a moment and a breath and sitting in gratitude for all that happened this evening and for Ella sharing her wisdom with us. And we get a chance to practice what she taught us. Okay. So knowing that God is everywhere in every corner of the universe, God, spirit, beauty, joy, whatever name we choose to give it, knowing it is everywhere, in and through all things, as all people, everywhere, throughout time. And since we know that God is through and as and in everything and everyone, we also know that God, creation, universal intelligence, is in and through everything within us, our thoughts, our body, our energy, our intelligence, our visions, and our dreams. And we know that when we become quiet and peaceful and in that sacred, quiet space that is above all frustration, fear, or anger, in that pure, loving place of eternal peace, that present moment that we are in, perfect power, perfect knowledge, and eternal peace, which is so powerful, and that we know that that peace spreads the vision of love and creativity and beauty and intelligence from us into every corner and space of the universe. And so knowing that this is true and being so grateful in this beautiful design of the universe, we walk into the rest of our week carrying this peace into the world as we go, and being so grateful for our knowledge and our awareness of the power of this perfect eternal peace. And so, with a grateful, grateful heart, I release this into the universe, knowing that it is so. And join me in saying, and so it is.
So it is. Amen. Thank you, Lisa.